Intern. Like we're like, say, hey Mikey, where are we on? Are we on? We got to get in the little screen here. We got to get closer. Get in more. Starting off like for Freedom Concrete, Matt and I started this. Actually, Matt started it back 2016 out of his garage and messing around with that. And we've been best buddies since diapers, essentially. So he started doing it just an excuse to come over and drink beers. I came over, gave him a hand one day, and thought it was a little fun. So I guess fast forward now to today. I guess what was the question again? The question is like,
What is the primary and secondary materials that y'all work with?
so our primary material like coming out of it is essentially melamine and concrete. So we have our own. We started out with like a silica system bag mix, kind of out of the gate because it was like it's easy to use. We just open the bag, dump in the bucket, and we rock and roll with it.
Especially when we were small. We did a bag mix when we were really small. Just add water.
Yeah, just add water, and then now we just do full scale our own bag mix. So we source a white Portland or like Lehigh white, or we use RWC white or Federal white, and then we source our sand locally. So that way it's all kind of keeps costs down a little bit. So it takes a little bit more time batching and stuff like that, but it keeps the cost down a little, just a little bit more. And then a lot of Trinic products. Trinic products are really awesome. So we're using a lot of that in the beginning, and now we're kind of in between Trinic and Smooth On products. So our main thing is mostly concrete, some woodworking, and then we have a metal shop here at the shop too. So Matt does a lot of welding, and he can make, if we need a frame for a job or something like that, we have the welding aspect as well.
How large is your shop?
So currently we're at 5,000 square foot shop. So we have two big 2,500 square foot shops, and so we in one of the shops we call it our polishing palace. It just kind of got dubbed the name of that for some reason. But yeah, so our polishing palaces are actually let's start from the beginning. So we started out roughly about 700, 800 square foot in his garage because he had a 3-car garage and we used the side of his house. And then when we decided to go full time, right, we moved up to a 1,200 square foot shop. And that shop was just like we had a 16-foot by 6-foot casting table that we built in the garage. We moved it to that shop, and we filled that thing up weekly. Like we'd cast, fill it all up. Totally,
Always full.
It was always full. And so we're like, damn, man, we gotta expand a little bit. So we found a shop over here. It's a little bit so in town. I live on the east side of town, and Matt lives on the west side of town. So we found a shop kind of centrally located in Phoenix. And so now the shop we have now is roughly 2,500 square foot. And so from here, we did everything in this shop, and we had the same issue. We just started filling it up way too fast because we just do monster pieces. We don't do anything we do some small stuff, I guess, but like 90% of our work is just monsters. Anything that's like over 12 feet and over. And then the shop next door came available. It's not directly next door, but it's one bay over. So we have one bay between us. It's another bay over. And so we picked that one up. So we do all the woodworking, mold making, and casting in that shop. And this shop is all processing and sealing. So we got 2,500 square foot over there, and we kind of combined it with a wood shop too. So our buddy he does a woodworking business too. So we kind of combine some of the tools, and so we use that shop for that as well. And then so we have an extra hand here when we need it for flipping or anything. And then we do everything else in the processing shop. So yeah, so roughly about 5,000 square foot now. So it's a pretty good size. And we just kind of, even now we're looking at the floor plan, getting like
trying to figure out how we can maximize the space now, because it's just full.
We fill it up,
tripping over shit, moving stuff around every day. It's a lot of wasted time when I got to move the same cart 6 times before I've done any work with it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out what's the best way to where we do everything once. Move it, put it away, done. So some big changes probably coming to us in the next couple months.
Yeah, because this is floor space. We gotta we're at the point now we got to get more racking, so we just put everything up. Or we get another shop. It's 10,000 square foot, but I don't know if we can see that in our near future.
How many people do you have working in your shop on a regular basis?
You're looking at it. Yeah, just
us. Hey, sometimes it's even less than that.
Yeah, so
a lot of times
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
A lot of times it's just one of us.
Yeah, so I'm out doing installs and stuff like that. I get a guy to come, like a day laborer guy, to come give me a hand. Some of our buddies come help us out. that like I got a buddy that works in the restaurant business, so he like has like usually during the week he has off, so he'll come give me a hand and do a bunch of stuff, and then so I'm out in the field doing that, and well, Matt's here either casting or processing and getting all this stuff done here at the shop, and then
Nice.
we try to hire
Where are
some.
y'all at in the world? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, where are we at in the world?
Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
So we're out here in Phoenix. Me, I'm born and raised in Phoenix. Been here my whole life, and them summers are hot. They're wicked hot.
Yeah.
but makes the cast
Yeah,
go
but would
pretty
you rather be
fast.
hot or cold?
Hot.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, see, that's where it. Oh, you weenie. Oh yeah, see, like as long as like your temperature preference matches up with like your ambient temperatures, then you're good. It's like when you're like somebody who loves heat and you're like up in like New York or something, like you've just made some terrible life decisions.
Yeah, you lived out in New York for a little
Yeah,
while.
I lived up upstate New York for 3 years, and I'm good. I'm back.
Mm-hmm. Do y'all design your own pieces? Do you primarily make other people's ideas or pieces? A combination of the two?
We pretty much make whatever they want, make their dreams, their drawings a reality. We'll make changes that need to be changed as far as like an engineering standpoint, what's possible and not possible. Um, if they're dead set on an idea and we don't think it's possible, then we give them options to make it possible. You know, but primarily they come to us with a design, whether it's a color, a texture, a style, just whatever it is, and then we'll make it a reality.
Yeah, so we have
Nice.
designers quite a bit. So we have a few that are in the valley, like they around like we have probably about 5 designers that we work with, just kind of right off the cuff. Like we call them on a regular basis, like, hey, I got this new idea, and can you incorporate it into something? I got this one cool fire pit design. It's like a fire pit waterfall feature. I'm just getting one of them just to say, yeah, pull the trigger on it. So, because that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, mainly we like, a bunch of designers like, hey, I got this idea. Do you think you could do this? And we're like, yeah, how big do you want it? They're like, oh, maybe. They're like, like this paneling thing we just did. We did some side paneling. They're like, oh, we need it to be like 10 feet. I was like, cool. So we built the mold 12 feet. So I was like, next time you have something else that you want to use, we got a 12 foot by 30-inch paneling thing we can put on the side of a wall or whatever. So we always get what they want to do and just make it a little bit bigger. So because we know the next job is going to be kind of wild per our experience doing that.
Mm-hmm. So you do a little bit of the combination between design, like with the fire and water. Like, do you have is that just something where a design might pop into your head, or do you actually spend time like throughout the week or so or month, like designing things? Like, do you sketch things out? Do you have?
I will. If I'm working on something and all of a sudden there's an idea pops into my head like this would be fucking cool, I'll sketch something out. I got a book where I have a bunch
Mhm.
of ideas in it, and then I kind of glance through that here and there. And then when a designer or a builder or even a homeowner's in the shop and they really don't have a direction they want to go, I can reference that. Like, here's some cool ideas I've had over the time. We can look at that and try to help them steer them in the design direction if they need the assistance.
Do you do anything methodically with that, or is it just kind of when something comes to you?
No, just when it pops into my head, if I have a few minutes, I'll jot it down. I'll text him like, "Hey," he'd be like, "Just ignore that. That's just my notes," and just I'll figure it out later.
Yeah, just get it. We do everything like off the cuff. Like he'll get some crazy ideas, and I'm like, "Here, watch this," and I'll just wing something, and it'll come out so dope. I'm like, "That worked out."
A lot of our big things that are like kind of unique to us and that we've done over the years that kind of make us who we are is all been done either by accidents. Just winging something like that looks pretty freaking cool. Let's run with that and try to perfect it. And especially a lot of our styles and our design, like our colors and stuff, and our techniques. We've just developed them over the years by making mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Do you have? Let's see. I'm gonna stay there with that for a little bit because I love that, because that's how most of my things have happened. Where I was just like, I'll see
Yeah,
somebody brag about something in a forum and be like, "That's stupid to brag about that. I'm gonna go do the opposite. Let's see what happens."
that's what
uh,
I'm like. So, dude, like a lot of these guys are sticklers. Like, oh man, you can't do it this way. Like, I'm not gonna say whoever, but they're like, oh, you can't
mhm.
do that with concrete. You can't mix your water ratios different from your face or your back code, or you can't do this, you can't do that. I'm like, I can't. Oh, really? I did it,
Hold
and I
my
made a
beer.
16. I did a 16-foot monolithical piece what's in a way this said I can't be done, and I did it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I get that a lot, and it's like, no, I'm just gonna go for it, and then it usually works out. Most like I say like 90% of the time, it works out pretty dang good. Just like the 10%, the stuff that doesn't work out is like stuff we're like, oh yeah, this is like a not like a rinse and repeat process. Like, we're doing another barbecue and something just happens to go wrong with it. Like, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Like, at a simple cast, that's usually the crap that goes wrong and it sucks. Doing recasts that way.
Yeah. Are there any examples that you have and are willing to share of that where like you're doing something, it screwed up and you're like, ooh, maybe we could do this, and then you kind of chase it a little bit and create something from that?
Oh, yeah, we got one from the beginning, right?
Which one?
Well, face coat's drying out. So, like, we're doing something really big. Do a nice spray up, like do like a high spray a little bit, and then we'll spray it in. And then summertime here, it's 120 outside.
105-degree shop day for us is
Yeah,
pretty normal in the summer.
yeah, it's about 105 in here. And then so face coat would end up drying out or something like that. And then we cast it, squirt bottle a little bit, trying to keep it wet, and then get our backers in. And it comes out map cracked, like just crazy map cracking all the way
Mm-hmm.
across the thing. You're like, and then we're like, and then but we do that again to like repeat it, and it doesn't work. Like, but we can do it on accident, no problem, when we don't want to. But if we want to recreate it, it doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so we try to take it and then figure out how to recreate it and then make it beautiful.
Yeah, it's
So one of our very first pieces on even our Instagram page is that of a piece that we can we purposely make it basically map crack, make it shatter,
yeah,
and is what we do. And then it looks like a bunch of cracks, and it's not.
yeah, it's wild. That's like those are some of the ones that get messed up. But yeah, or like say cracking around barbecue grills. So like recently we because we make these pieces that are so freaking big that when we flip them and stuff like that, they twist a little bit when we're putting them in. When you first pop them out of the mold, they're kind of flimsy a little bit. They're not like fully cured. We pop them like within 12 hours, so we try to get them popped as fast as we can. But like so around barbecue seams or like sink seams, you'll get those little micro cracks that fish out from like the radiuses of like the plugs and everything that we make. And so recently we just kind of start getting away with it, getting especially for barbecues. We'll just make it a solid square and then just cut it out on site. It gets a little messy and dusty on site, but we're like, it just makes it so much easier to pop, flip, and make all clean.
So map cracking, go.
Yeah. So yeah, on the thing of map cracking, I don't know where I left off at, but yeah. So get away from some of the map cracking and stuff like that. We like for the barbecue cutouts, we ended up just not doing like foam cutouts for barbecues really anymore. We do. I just cast it as a full rectangle, and then we'll take the piece on site, and we'll just cut the barbecue grill out on site. And so that's been kind of helping with all the cracking. So we'll get it in place, stable, shim it all up, peel it in, or grout it in, or whatever we're doing, and then cut it out on site. It's a little bit of a mess, but with the sealer that we're using and stuff like that, after the next after 4 hours,
Yeah, we'll install about 4 to 5 hours after sealing.
after sealer, and I'll walk on it and throw tools on it. I'm not I got a care in the world about this thing scratching or staining or anything like that. So with that, we started doing the cutouts because it just made it a little bit faster.
Yeah, I think I know what series you're talking about. I have managed to scratch it, but I put like a paint can on top of a metal-based paint can. Actually, it went and it went swoop, slit right through it.
Oh man, it must have
But
been pretty sharp or something.
It will. I mean, if you're a little
well,
too
I
rough
mean,
with it, especially in the infancy of it, I mean, it's not impervious, but out of everything else we've tried over the years,
It's just
it's been our golden goose right now, and it's just been making everything we do so much more successful and easier.
yeah, I mean, I put it on way too thick on this piece. Plus, it was sacrificial anyway, so I didn't care. I don't even think this thing was acid etched that well either. So there's that.
Yep. That definitely helps.
And then okay, so I guess let's get back to the rapid fire questions. They're not turning into very rapid, but oh well, that's good. I like that. Like you're a little bit more unconventional in your acquisition of styles, I guess you could call it. There's nothing wrong with somebody pumping out the same piece over and over and over again. Like that's just one style of business that we do. But like it's nice coming across somebody that's showing other people that maybe that doesn't appeal to. Like that's where the good stuff is, because sometimes people feel like they need permission for whatever reason, which I'm that person. I I felt like I needed permission to go do some of the things that I wanted to go do. So I love that y'all actually do that. Y'all might not think anything of it, but I think it does for some people require a little bit of balls to actually do that,
Yeah,
because there's so much pressure from some of the guys that we work with to do things a certain way.
no.
Uh, so good on y'all for that. I know it seems like it comes naturally to y'all, but
One thing that
good
stood
job.
out with David and I over the years
Um,
is we hate being told how we have to do something. So usually, if someone tells us we have to do it, you can't do something a certain way. It doesn't sit well with us. We want to know why. If you don't have a good reason why, we're going to do it, and we'll figure out why, or we'll figure out you're wrong. I mean, we do a lot of stuff here very unconventional.
Yeah, I like finding the
is
why is awesome.
so is it so as long as someone can justify the why, do you typically avoid kind of figuring out like why they're wrong, or is
It's a
that
case
usually
by
good
case,
enough?
but I'll listen to what they say on the why if it makes a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sense. But sometimes the limits just need to be pushed and the materials need to be pushed. What we do is everything we do is one off and it's custom. There's no reason why we have to have
Mm-hmm.
the same procedure, the same protocol, and the same everything within every piece. Some pieces are going to be in the mold for 2 or 3 days. Some pieces are only going to be in the mold for 10 hours. If we have to push it, we'll push it, and if we learn a valuable lesson along the way, either way, we're going to learn a lesson. We're going to learn we can't do it, or we're going to learn that now we can do it.
Yeah, because we go back to the basics of the chemistry, right? So it's concrete's just like basic chemistry at the end of the day. So like as long as we kind of stay in the confines of that, like we're just adding, just we're just making a wet mix, put it in a spot, and then giving like sufficient time to cure, right? So you need a little bit of heat to cure it. You need like just time and heat essentially to let it cure, not dry, right? And so I say the basics we stand around like yes, these are like kind of set in concrete, no pun intended, but we just it's just dialed in that way. But like just being able to do um like the different like kind of like marbling effects and stuff like that. So if you want something that's like totally one off, you have to tweak that chemistry a little bit to make it different, to make yourself stand out in a way to where it's not like they're like you get a designer or somebody that like has a artistic side. They're like, yeah, that's awesome. I want to see more of that, you know. And like that's like messing with fiber loads, messing with going up or down. Like everything has like a range, right? So messing with all kind of stuff like that, it kind of works out in our favor. We just wing it. So someone says, hey, you don't want to put sealer on 10 hours after you cast it or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, well, I casted this piece 6 hours ago, popped it, and acid etched the crap out of it, threw the sealer on it, and it worked fine. It works great, and I put it in there, run it through, like I just scratch test and stuff like that. Yes, the piece is still curing. Yes, it has some time where you still got a baby and stuff like that. But me knowing those things, I did a piece less than 36 hours, cast it, popped it, processed it, sealed it within the next day, and it was installed 2 days later. Because we had like reverse
Yeah.
projects. It's like it just because
A
they
lot,
want it.
a lot of it too comes down to everybody's location. Where you are, geography. We're not going to take the same advice. I'm going to take the advice of someone that's maybe up north or maybe all the way in Alaska or the Canada and stuff. Like their advice means something, but temperature, heat, the humidity. We're very dry out here, so we can do some things
Mm-hmm.
that they might struggle with because we run an average sometimes of 5% humidity in the shop, so we can push some of our other limits with that because our pieces are drying out.
I've never seen humidity that low.
So you get those like
Sorry,
nosebleed.
my humidity doesn't even drop below like 70.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's why we kind of think we can kind of push the limits a little bit, because like just based on our environment, it's definitely different.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be late to
Well,
that.
it's
Like, I don't even
hilarious.
know what 5%.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't even know what that feels like.
It's dry, man.
Like, I had, let's see, back when it was hot here, let's see, what I was at 98 degrees in the shop, 95, 98 degrees, and I was 82% humidity. It was
It's not
like
even
working in a
82 here.
fucking swamp.
It could be raining outside and it won't be 82 degrees.
yeah, we get
humidity here.
max like 50 or 60,
Oh,
maybe max.
Oh no.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
come
So
out
like,
sometime. We'll put you up, dude. We'll put you up here and we'll like do a little.
I'll turn into a fucking raisin, man.
Yeah, dude.
We'll keep you hydrated. Look, I got
Yeah.
like 15 gallons of water just right around the corner, stocked, ready to go, like all times. We're drinking.
Yeah, but see, that's why I asked like people like, where are you in the world? Like some of these things I haven't released episodes where I've started to ask these questions, but like that's a like that is such a key component. You'll have somebody in the forums and they'll just like throw in information at people and they don't even specify like what are your shop conditions like if you're up working in like 20 or 30-degree weather and it's super humid, like that is a world of a difference for creating concrete when somebody else is sitting at 70 degrees and moderate humidity. Like that is so different. Um, so do y'all use a lot of ice,
Oh, a
Yeah.
ton. Yeah, we bought a big
or y'all just like
industrial ice.
balls to the wall?
Yeah, we
we
got
don't
a.
even. It's like 80% ice, 90% ice in the summer. We got a big machine that does about 500
Mm-hmm.
pounds of ice a day, and we've emptied it some days.
Mm-hmm.
We just push it.
Yeah, summertime is like it's definitely like we're hustling, we're like moving really quick, and I just like we just got to be really fast paced and keep that mix as cold as possible. And then the wintertime we'll do maybe like 50% ice or something like that, and then we're not measuring it, right? I'm not doing like 5 pounds of ice versus 5 pounds of water or something like that. I literally just load the bin up with ice. I have a ice I have a cooler we have on just a little skateboard, and we just load that full of ice, fill it up with water, let the ice water slush a little bit, and I peel the ice off the top and pour it in my bucket, and just kind of go from there. So it's kind of eyeballing it mostly, but in our summer days though, we have a lot more ice in our mix, so it's a little hard to get the mix kicked off in the beginning of it. But other than that, we plow right
Mm-hmm.
through it, make a big smoothie, and let it ride.
Oh, dude. This show's not big enough yet, but if we were doing this later, I'd be like, don't read the comments.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they would hate it, dude. They're like, these guys are great. Like, but
We're making concrete at the end of the day.
we're making mud.
Every single ingredient doesn't need to be measured out. The guys that say, if you could say that you need to, but we're sitting here as experience telling you it doesn't always have to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as I think a lot of people in the industry make it more complicated than they need to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
like you mix a lot of your say a lot of guys
Yeah.
will mix their pigments with their water first, mix that up, and then the mixer. So like if you were using citric acid, put citric acid in the water and mix that up first, and then put it in your mix. Only mix the Portland first, and then add your sand at the end. That's kind of like in the perfect world, like how to really kind of get a dialed in mix, like your color dispersion all even and stuff like that. We just we learned it from our boys over at Trinic. We just do sand bottom of the bucket, Portland, our VCAS, and then we put whatever pigments and stuff on top, and we just we just start at the top, mix in the bucket, and just mix the bucket at the top and just swirl down, and then we get that same effect, but we just do it all in one shot rather than messing around with like 5 different buckets and stuff like that. So we get these big industrial sized buckets we get from the pool guys out here. So we get free buckets essentially from the pool guys, and they're like we can put it up to about roughly
120 pounds.
120 pounds. Like if it's all dry ingredients, 120 pounds. If I mix the Portland in it first and then add sand afterwards, we could probably get a good 150 to 180 pounds in one bucket with these buckets we get.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we can roll that way.
So you're mixing all your dry ingredients before you add your wets?
Yep.
No, we don't dry blend them. That's what you're asking.
Oh yeah, we don't
put
dry
them in a
blend it.
bucket and go.
Yeah, we just put a bucket and go. So we just do sand, Portland, VCAS, and then whatever pigments we're doing, and then we water in the bucket, and we use a little bit of Forton. Put that in the bucket with the water, mix that up like ice, like our ice bucket. We just shake it a little bit and then dump it all in, and then let it rip. And we don't have
what are you using to mix it then?
Yeah, so I was going to get to next. So we only have we call them Desiree and Troy. We got Desiree. She's a single paddle cola mix, and then Troy is a double paddle cola mix, and that's all we got.
All we use.
That's what is that? The Exo.
Exo
6, and then the 55, I think is what they call it.
Yeah, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're a couple of years old and they're still going strong. So.
Oh yeah, I've got the single paddle mixer now, and that sucker's still kicking.
Yeah, and we probably.
I'm not put.
I mean, I think just the other day we did a 1,200 pound day, and we'll do that 2 or 3 times a week sometimes.
Who are y'all using for pigments, and what are your favorite pigments?
Right now, we are using a lot of Buddy Rhodes pigments. So about a year and a half ago, we tried to force all of our ingredients locally.
Yeah.
So we're lucky enough we have a Reynolds here in town, and they have all the smooth
Nice.
on stuff. So we just started
Yep.
switching and started trying their stuff for their polymers, their fiberglass, and then their pigments primarily. And then we have one more person that's local that sells pigments to the. I think it's the guys that do all the stamped concrete.
Cohills.
Cohills.
Yeah, we use
Mhm.
Cohills for pigment sometimes too. They're pretty good. They got some good like if we're gonna do like a stain or something like that
We
for
like their stains. Yeah.
their stains are really good because like the other products stains we've had them fade and stuff like that. We don't do a lot of stain work, but and we definitely don't do it for outside stuff. But interior we'll do like we just did a mantle recently and a couple hearths. They wanted like some cool movement in it, so we did stains with that. And Cohills is a good product for that. But yeah, like Matt was saying, like Reynolds materials, like the smooth on stuff, that it works pretty decent. Unless the client has a specific thing, like, hey, I want to use Davis color, whatever, then we'll go to uh, White Cap. HD White Cap usually has a lot of the Davis color stuff here, or we'll just order it
Mhm.
online if they have a specific call out.
Which pigments do y'all like using?
I like the Reynolds,
Oxides.
yeah, the oxides, yeah, the Reynolds stuff is pretty decent. It disperses really well. Like I don't know for me, man. I'd use whatever, but like that's what we mainly use because we got we use our color book, and I passed the book. I was like, hey, what color do you want? That's usually like 90% of our holdup is like client can't pick a color. I'm like, well, look at this book and tell me what you want, and I'll make it to like pretty much to that color. That's like
Mhm.
the toughest part.
Do you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially when you have too many colors, like I do.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, we have a lot of
That
colors.
becomes a
Yeah,
problem.
everything under the sun, right?
Oh, yeah. I need to put all of them in one place so that everybody can get like it. Because like even when I show a
Agreed.
picture of like the color wall, like even the color wall doesn't do it justice. Because I've got. Let's see if I can see from here. I've got a good 50, 60 just sitting on the floor.
Yeah, heck yeah, that's what I'm
um,
talking about. When you get that set up, let me know. Give me a link to it, and I'll just send them that link too. It's like this color, let me know. Well, you put in the work
I'm
for it.
telling you, man, I love it. Like there are not many things that I like in concrete more than like the colors.
Yeah,
And
heck yeah,
maybe it's my humidity, but like I have to go through so many extra steps to get the pigments to blend. It's just absurd. Like
really.
Buddy Rhodes warm gray. I rarely use cool gray, so I don't know about that. But warm gray clumps so bad, so you get those little clumps in there.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
like when you spray your mist coat or whatever, you flip it over and you've got like a red streak or you've got like it's just so I have to sift my pigments. It's a pain in the ass. And ultra blue is hands down the worst.
Yeah,
So
I did a
that was
super
the main
blue
reason I
top.
was asking about pigments.
I did a super blue top for my daughter about a month and a half ago, and maybe 2 months ago
yeah.
now,
Yeah,
and there's
okay.
still blue
Blue
everywhere.
everywhere. It's all over the
Yep.
shop. Those super colors
That's
are
the
rad.
reason. Yeah, the that's the one thing where if there's anybody that's considering doing colors that I will mention every single time is you have to be very careful because the pigment size is so small. You really need to put like have you seen where people they'll have like a 5 gallon bucket, they take the 5 gallon top and then drill a hole in the middle of it, and then they put the so you take your mixer paddle and you put it up through the bucket and then connect it back to the mixer, and then they'll mix it like that. So that'll help with
Break
like,
it up.
well, that's not going to work with y'all because y'all have different buckets, but that'll help cut down that mist that comes up. It's not really mist, the powder. That blue, super red, and super yellow, and super blue are and super green are so bad. You'll be getting stuff off your face and your stuff forever after
Yeah,
that. Um,
it's usually
do
about a
y'all
month.
avoid using the supers or
Not,
If it's a
no?
client project and it comes forward, all right,
yeah, we're
doing
doing
it.
it.
We're committed. A lot of the stuff that we do have of those odd colors, those bright colors, they're usually just bought for us to play around with in the shop and kind of experiment with. But I mean, the gray and the
Mhm.
brown palette and white is our primary. I mean, we got the same couple colors that we seem to do all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you prefer titanium or ultra?
I like
Ultra.
I like
for your
Ultra.
white.
Yeah, Ultra.
Ultra. But we have a
Oh,
very our
y'all are
white
first.
mix.
Nice.
Yeah, our mix of white, just natural white, is pretty good. So a
Yeah.
lot of times it's just a straight white mix with no pigment. Our sand is very white, so it
Mm-hmm.
really helps keep that brightness to it.
Mm-hmm. But
Oh,
the Ultra,
nice.
like it blends out so nice. Like it gets because the that titanium stuff, it makes the mix feel like it's frothy, like a big cake batter. And I just don't like the feel of it. So that Ultra stuff, when you do a little bit lighter, like percent or like 2% or something like that, and then it makes it really nice and white, and like it sprays up nice. It doesn't feel like just doesn't feel frothy like a cake frosting. It feels like like a hardy
Mm-hmm.
concrete rather than a cake frosting kind of deal. That's like the
That's
mix.
nice.
Yeah, with the pigment loading, I never had that issue. We never had the issue. Like we made like once or twice. We had it with the carbon black, like a little
Mm-hmm.
nugget floating. But we use so much ice, and then when we blend it with Troy, like the double paddle mixer, it just beats everything up. Then after we do the double paddle mixer, we pull that one out and put the single paddle in, so we can get everything at the bottom, and then really blend that up. So it's like ice and all that stuff floating around there, breaking it all up. So it breaks down pretty good instead of trying to sift it or break it. So we've never actually ran into that problem. I don't think
Must
really
be
ever
nice.
of like a nugget of yeah. That's like some we probably had every other problem, but we haven't ran into that one yet. It's coming.
I'll
Probably.
send you a picture of what my I get like the big old thing of ultra blue. Like chunks the size of like gravel.
Oh
Like
no!
it's
It's like
it yeah, it's gnarly. Like there's no like I got to sit there with like the little flour sifter and get it just
yeah, yeah.
it's not an
We had it. We
not an
went through a
enjoyable
period
process.
were getting these weird spots in our tops. They
Like
were about 3/8 to half-inch little circles, and they would chip right out, very like it was unmixed material. We kept chasing
Mm-hmm.
it, couldn't figure it out. We actually ended up finding out that it was bad VCAS. Our pozzolan had looks like it had gotten some humidity to it, and it was very chunky. So we were sifting it, it didn't work, and then we switched to a new batch a couple of bags later, and it was very, almost like flour material, and the problem just went away.
yeah,
So now we're really picky on certain materials that come. If they look like they're damaged, they've been wet, they're not. They're
yeah, they
going
don't
back.
go in. And plasticizer,
Yes.
we do sift plasticizer every once in a while because
Yeah.
sometimes because we buy the big buckets of them, and then that'll kind of sit for a little while too, so it'll get kind of chunky. And so we'll take that, and I get a
Mm-hmm.
little flour sifter. I just pull it up and just kind of just shake it a little bit, and it all falls out. And you get a couple like random nuggets in there, or just toss it. But I think that's the only thing we've kind of sift to make sure that plasticizer is really nice and even throughout.
Use 310.
No, we're
No,
using Trinic.
Mm. Yeah,
yeah,
so
that
I don't
Trinic
use
stuff,
tree. I don't know what their super P is.
it's
It's powerful, and
it's
it
good
allows us
stuff.
to use a very low amount. It's one of the few products we've been using since day one, and it's probably one of those ones that will just. I've always liked it.
Yeah, it works great. Yeah, we use the 310
What's it
stuff
called?
from it's
Trinic plasticizer.
just Trinic plasticizer.
They don't have a different ratings on
Creative.
their
I like it.
plastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
it's
don't
it.
have different styles or different amounts. It's just they have one plasticizer they sell.
Yeah, those guys don't mess around. They're like, we want the best stuff out there, and that's it. So getting to know those cats, that's where we got a lot of our knowledge from. Is Mark from Trinic. He's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's out there
Do
too. He's got YouTube videos out there building crazy stuff.
yeah, Decoy was talking about advice to like newer people if they wanted to start learning some stuff. Like that's a free resource that they can go and check out his stuff on YouTube.
Yep,
Um,
that's where it's at.
So that's
okay,
something that separates David and I from a lot of everybody else. Is neither of us have any education, formal education in this industry. Neither of us have been to any of the schools.
Weekend
mm-hmm.
class.
We've done a weekend open house in California. I've been there a couple of times and hung out. That's actually how David got started with everything. Is I had an empty seat and I was going out there, and the guy I was working with at the time bailed. I was like, "Hey, you want to come to California with me for a weekend and build some stuff out of concrete?" And he got the bug then.
Oh yes,
But
do it.
other than that, we are pretty much the definition of YouTube certified. Just
Yeah,
asking questions on the
hey, you can
forums
learn
and
a
just
whole lot of stuff
making
on YouTube.
mistakes. I think so.
Mm-hmm. Well, which forums do y'all like the most? Like, which ones have you found the most helpful?
I think the ones from Mark. Essentially, that's all. That like when I got into YouTube, he just basically gave me my baseline from like after meeting Mark and then doing that little seminar thing over at Silica Systems out in California. Talking with him, just like yeah, man, just basically just said, just wing it and go for it. Do what you feel. It feels good. This is basically how it looks when you spray, like do a spray up. This is how it looks when you do a spray up. If you get concrete to stick to the wall, you can get it to stick to anything. So that's basically his words of that, and a couple of videos that I seen him do of just making crazy stuff. I'm like, I probably watched a total of maybe an hour, 2 hours of videos. And after that, I was just like, all right, cool. I got enough in my brain now. I'm just gonna let it go. Because our background, like we got a background in aerospace. So I was in aerospace for about 14 years. And so where I did, I did anything from washing motors, tearing down motors, to doing robotics, to doing, engineering, all kinds of cool stuff. And then, you know what I mean? So I feel like I got a knowledge base in the aerospace field, where I'm just like, now I just kind of converted that to my knowledge of concrete. So I got a couple buddies that are chemical engineers too, like doctorate in chemical engineering. So I run stuff by them, like, hey, what do you think about this? And like they'll give me some ideas, like, well, I'll just run stuff by them to see if it'll work, and they're like, yeah, just give it a shot. And like we just go from there. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I got enough
I
crazy in
know
there rattling around for it.
there's gonna be some people that listen to this and they're just gonna lose their minds.
Good.
Like,
Perfect.
um,
So
because
come
I
out to Phoenix.
appreciate
So you
both
had to do
ends
it.
of the spectrum. Y-
So do I.
I like there's a place for both of them, right? Like if you have a piece that like really needs to be like maybe it's put in somewhat of a compromising situation, or like somebody's going to be passing underneath it or sitting underneath it, or there's a chance that it could fall over or something like that. Like there are definitely times and places where you need to make sure that your reinforcements on point, your mix designs on point, and that type of stuff. But like it's a fucking countertop. Most of the stuff that people make in our industry, it's a countertop. Once you put it on the
Mm-hmm.
cabinets, like
Then
just
you're
make sure
solid.
it doesn't curl. Yeah, like
Yep.
I'm gonna catch so much heat for this, man. This is now 3 episodes in a row where I'm gonna get fucking roasted. Appreciate it, guys.
Hell yeah.
um,
So if we're gonna engineer
the
something, like, right, so we have like an engineering background. So like if we're gonna engineer something, like we're gonna do like this huge cantilever or something like that, it's like you should see the casting table we have in the shop, and then like this other table that Matt built the other day. We over engineer the shit out of everything, right? If we need to.
mhm.
And so if it's something like the wall cladding that we did, we over like dude, we made our mix like the densest mix we could possibly make. We made it with a ton of fiber in it, reinforced it, and we like stuck these things to the wall, and like those ain't going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like the house is gonna fall down, those things will still be standing.
So okay, so
So
like some of that stuff sounds very complicated, and technically challenging. How would you recommend, regardless of whether the person is brand new to concrete or they're intermediate and or maybe they're even advanced in a certain side of it but not necessarily that, like how would you recommend going about acquiring those bits of information? Because like when you talk about concrete, there's a lot of pieces that are involved with that. Everything from the
mhm.
chemistry side of it to the structural side of it, making sure it doesn't fall off the wall. That's a lot of topics. um
It is. I say start small. Like start with your concrete density, right? So if you want to do countertops, you can go to Home Depot and get yourself some rapid set and just run rapid set. You'll get around 9,000 psi. So, and then make sure you get some AR fiber from your local rentals or something like that, and that'll basically get you a ballpark of just getting started and like learning how to like get your hands wet essentially. But if you're gonna
mhm.
do if you need to, like, if you're going to run to a spec, like a designer, like we get designers that like, hey, we need to run to this spec, you need to be able to hit this, and like, okay, cool. So you can make yourself some little cubes, like 2x2 cubes, take those, make your mix, put them in there, cover them, do everything you're gonna do with those, pop those suckers out, and find a local person that can crush them for you to check your psi strength. And then you can make flat coupons, like 3 inch by with a 3 inch by 8 inch,
5 by 18 at 5/8.
5 yeah, 5
That's
8.
what we did. So in the first years, we did a lot of testing. We had a company in California. Silica would help us out, and they'd break stuff for us, tell us our PSIs, our flexural and compression, and then we just, we've taken us this many years to get to these big panels, these oversized counters, doing wall cladding. We started off small, and we had these jobs come up. We do experiments. We'll try some stuff in the shop. We'll mix it. Even the wall paneling job we did. There's a stack of panels out back that didn't meet our standard. They
Mm-hmm.
were a learning curve during that process of how to get the mix the way we want it to flow, get the color that we wanted, and all that. So I mean, the best knowledge I think anybody's gonna ever get is just trial and error, and you have to be confident in that.
Yeah, if you don't have a big boneyard, then it means you ain't trying.
Yeah. Um, so for let's say that somebody has let's see, a moderate to a busy shop, do you have any, say, methodologies that somebody could use to, because like everything takes time, right? So how would you recommend somebody freeing up time to do those testing? Because that's the thing that I hear over and over and over again. I'm so busy, blah 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 blah.
I give you the five
That'll work.
S's, right?
Go for
You
it.
sort, store, standardize, shine, and sustain. Boom. The five S's. So you sort, you get everything out, you sort out everything you need. You basically get rid of all the BS you have around your shop. So what do you need to do this job? You need some melamine, you need your mixers, you need your concrete, right? And then you need your polisher, and then you need your sealer. Right? So that's only really five things you need to do this job. So if you got a bunch of crap just laying around all in a place, you got to sort everything out so everything has a home. So that way you're not like, oh, where's that tool at, or where's this at, or I need to go do this, or I got to move this to get to this, right? You got to sort everything out to get it all dialed in. Sort, store, like yeah, you store basically you have storage for everything, right? So those are the sort and store. Um, Standardize, so make sure you have the same standard for everything. So you like basically you have that standard. You have okay, I'm using melamine for my molds. I'm using you standardize your processes that way. I'm using this bag mix. I'm using this sand from this supplier. I'm using and then you have an alternate, right? So if your supplier runs out or something like that, you always have an alternate. But you standardize your processes that way. Sort of standardize and then shine. So you basically clean everything up. Make sure there's not like, and then after that you shine. Make sure you're, at the end of the day you put everything back to standard, and then that's how you sustain it. The five S's. And you get that dialed in where you're basically all lined up, ready to go. So when the next day you come in, you're like, boom, fresh slate. Here you go. Here's my next batch ticket. Here's my next set of pieces because we do all custom. We don't have like a repeat thing. Hopefully one day we will, so we can just like stop driving ourselves nuts. But we can do we get like a production piece would be nice one of these days. But this is not what we do. We're just like we get all excited about the custom stuff. We either go big, team no seam, and then we're gonna do it all in
Yeah.
one shot. We're craning these bitches in if we have to
Yeah.
to get them done. But that's like so for like a small and medium shop, even a small shop. If you start out with those five S's, get your small garage shop all set up. If you can get yourself really organized and like and then dialed in that way, where you basically I do all my casting here, I do my processing here, and especially if you got to move stuff around because we did that for a while where you had to
Mhm.
our table saw and chop when we're working, we have a woodworking day. So today's woodworking day. So we get all of our sheets out, we run everything through our job site saw, everything through our rigid stands, chop saw, and stuff like that. Made all of our molds. We packed all that stuff up, shoved it in the corner. Now that same space is now our polishing area. Cast it, or that's our casting area. We cast it. Now that's put all that casting stuff, shove that off to the corner. Now it's our polishing area. So we got photos of that of our old shop or a smaller shop doing that, and we did that out of the garage. And then when we apply that to the big shop now, so we just like I said, we just acquired another 2,500 square foot a few months ago, and we're just in the process of dialing that in while we're just pumping out work. And so in order of doing that, if you just do those five S's, you'll be dialed in pretty good where you can maximize your efficiency.
Oh, I just wanted to see if Matt was going to add anything.
Yeah.
David is the
Oh
talker.
yeah.
I see David is the talker.
Oh yeah.
You
Yes,
guys
sir.
see even like on our Instagram, he's the one that gets on there and wants to talk every day. It's,
Yeah. Yeah. Like I just I'm very much so an extrovert. I like
Oh,
getting
yeah.
out there and getting wild.
Every team needs one of those. I'm not an extrovert by any stretch of the imagination. Are there any tips that stand, or I keep using, I gotta find out more words than tips and tricks because it's too repetitive. But
That's all it
are
is,
there
though. It's tips
anything?
and tricks, right?
Yeah, are there any things that you have found that helped more than others for both for your first two S's for smaller shops? Was there anything that stood out a whole lot? Like this thing was exponentially more helpful than say some of the other stuff. And then same thing with like a medium shop and then what a larger shop that you have now. Is there any standout things or like, man, these made the biggest impact?
The No matter what size your shop is, if it's not clean and organized and you know where your stuff is, you've got to get to that point. You got to get rid of the crap and you got to be lean. You got to get rid of anything you don't need.
Mm-hmm.
If you're holding on to materials because one day I might use this stack of melamine,
Get that book right there.
you're just wasting time.
Oh, here, watch this. If you haven't Lean Six Sigma, this is what you got to go through right there. So if you want to like start getting yourself like leaned out and like start like working like getting your shop organized where you can pump out a lot of work, take some notes from this Lean Six Sigma book. It's I did it in big business and stuff like that, and I leaned out big portions of the shop. I did it in aerospace, multi-billion-dollar company, and it works. It works fantastic. And so we did that together.
And we still have to do it. I mean, we try to do it once a month. We go to the shop and just get rid of stuff. Why are we holding on to this? Why do I have chemicals that they expired 3 years ago and they're still on the shelf? You know,
You might use them.
I'm not saving every.
Yeah.
They're not going to use them. They're
Yeah.
going to sit there until they're rock solid or they evaporate.
Yeah.
You know, or stacks of pieces of melamine. Like the job's over. Throw it away. Cut up a new sheet. Like it would just make you'll just be happier. Your mind will be less cluttered if your shop is less cluttered.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes the work environment a more pleasurable place to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no one likes coming into a shop that's just it looks like a tornado went through, and it does happen in our industry. It's
Yeah. Well, if you come in here after a cast or something like that, you're like, whoa, what the hell happened in here? Everything's just everywhere.
or a big install. Like we load up for and leave for a big install. Well, the shop carts are just tossed, pushed in the corners. Tools are everywhere. We got to come back. It's time to put everything what we call put everything back to zero.
Yeah.
So every
Zero
area after every job, we try to zero it back out. All the workbenches are cleared off. All the tools are put away. Everything's cleaned, swept, mop, whatever that means for that area, and then we get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That works good.
Is there anything else that stands out? I mean, there have been several people who have mentioned that it's like getting everything back to zero, like you mentioned, like that comes up from quite a bit, and then a clean shop that also comes up quite. And then you have like the Brents out there where it's just like a bomb went off in the shop every single day, and he loves it. So
Yeah. I want to go work with that guy for a couple weeks. I just want to go out there and hang out with him. I'm like, all right, bro, we're gonna make this like we're gonna go crazy in here.
Some people find calm in the chaos, but most of us don't.
yeah,
You know, you walk into your shop first thing on a Monday morning and it's clean, you're gonna feel better. You walk in and there's just shit everywhere. You instantly walk in and you're just overwhelmed already because you know you got work to do, and now you got other stuff to get done. All the crap that no one wants to talk about, cleaning the floors, you know, cleaning your lobbies. You know, who wants to go in there and clean the bathroom? It's got to get fucking done. So you know, getting time for all of that and doing that on a regular basis, it's super important.
I've had to like the smaller shop. I think you have to go through that iterative process quicker. You just you don't have as much buffer room, right? Like when you were in the 3-car garage, like
Correct.
there's the margin of error is just so much smaller. Or like you make one piece and it's like, oh, well, there goes all the room. Now I need to clean up and get rid of shit because I need that space.
Yeah, that's where we're using job site saws and stuff like that. We set up the whole wood shop out in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Make everything, cut everything up out in the driveway, fold it all back up, and then shove it back in the corner.
Yep. When we were working out of my garage 3 years ago, the whole driveway was our wood shop during the day. I would leave countertops on carts in my driveway overnight, raw, because there's no more room.
Uh-huh.
We didn't have room.
Yeah.
I'll block it in with my truck and just hope it's there in the morning. The shit we were doing back then was it's unreal.
Yeah.
You know, now something else that can help with the bigger the shop gets, even your little shop, is we try to focus on not having a lot of flat surfaces. So limit your tables. So a table in every corner, all these little workbenches, they become clutter.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but clutter. Get rid of them. Only need the tables that you need. And then what we just did in our other shops, we put one big table right in the middle, and it's our workbench. That will be all the clutter on one table. So we don't have one table now to clear off and put stuff away instead of 7 little tables all throughout the shop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you start working, next thing you know, your outfeed table, you got to run full sheets through, and your outfeed table is completely full of other stuff.
Yeah.
Because it became a work table. So we just built a table that's only for work, so nothing else goes anywhere. And that should help with our clutter and getting cleaned up when we have to bring everything back to zero.
Yeah, because like on our main table, like we would build our molds out, but to build the inners on the mold, like I was building inners on the floor to like like for hydraulic pressure or whatever we are doing, like building inners on the floor sucks. So that's why we made our 14 foot by 7, 8 foot table just basically to build the inners.
Must be nice having a nice big shop.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we had a 16-foot casting table in my garage when we were there. So, I mean, we learned how quickly to utilize the space efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And right now our shop's getting kind of full, so we're working up the walls now with shelves and
Mhm.
organizing that way.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people, they set up like the Home Depot steel that they like the really big ones that what is it? I think like the 8 or 10 foot spans, and if you have a forklift, people put pallets in there and then they just go up.
Yeah.
Um,
We have a couple.
We have 5 of those, I think, now
yeah,
currently.
that seems to be where it's at. Once you start getting into decent floor spaces, you just go up.
Yeah.
Yep. And getting a forklift, we haven't got one of those bad boys yet. That'd be a back saver.
Mm-hmm.
Forklift and like a rimcraft or something like that. That'd be really, really nice to have. But those are just nice.
They're on our wish list.
Yeah, it's on Santa's wish list. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, the forklifts seem to be one of the things that people get, and then they're like, "Why the fuck did I not get this sooner?" I mean, they're not cheap, so there's that. But
so our excuse on it is our neighbor has one, and we can just use it as we need. We fill up the propane and do some maintenance on him for nothing, and he's never had an issue with us using it. And I had it on this last Saturday over here for like 3 or 4 hours using it. They don't mind. So it's kind of hard to like, well, let's go spend all the money on a forklift when and they're here like us 7 days a week sometimes. So
yeah, breaking through from that convenience, man, that's just rough. It's convenient.
Yeah,
it's easy.
it is.
Like, why do I need to go to he's got it? I'll just use his. Man, that shit is brutal.
Yep.
Yep. Man. And then Martin is a huge believer. Like he likes pouring now because he's a trader. But yeah, he loves the sprayers. Brent is another good example. He uses the silica systems. I don't think they sell it anymore. But
so we were actually in California when Brent was out there testing out the sprayer. That's when we met Brent.
Yeah, like he's a whole I don't know. He's an anomaly. Like
I know.
The most calm, cool, chill guy you'll meet. But when it comes to like making and spraying stuff, he's like, rapid set, balls to the wall, let's go. And I'm like, who are you?
Yeah. I like that style. I like that style a lot.
Yeah, we've been playing with rapid set a lot lately, and I've been on the phone with him quite a bit, trying to pick his brain for some base knowledge to start out with.
Well, the next time you talk to him, pester him about sending me the shit that I need so that I can launch his episode, because he talks about rapid set a lot in there. And I've been waiting for a month for him to get me the stuff. So I don't want everybody to think that he's like ball to the wall when it comes to everything, because not everything. Pester him.
When you're in the shop that much, it's hard. Everything else goes to the wayside. Basically, we've been like that. Like this is like, we'll fire up the laptop today. This is the first time I fired it up, and I'm like since last week or something like that, because we just been going hard in the shop trying to get everything done before Christmas.
Yeah, yep. It's either people are not doing anything during some of these days. They're like, nope, I'm done. Holidays, I'm out. And then some people are like, I'm getting everything done that I can. I'm like, well, calm down. It's all right. You're gonna pop a blood vessel in your neck or something.
Yeah, dude. See the veins pumping and stuff like that. You're like, let's go, baby. No.
Yeah. It's like I feel like if anybody looked at like the musical choice that I listen to like throughout the day, they're like, there's no way that this is the same person. This listen is like, no.
Yeah.
Yep. Hell yeah.
So y'all are rare when it comes to, not only did you actually fill out the pre-interview questionnaire, which is rare in and of itself, but you ticked every single box of things that you want to talk about. So physical health, mindset, the business side of business, the creative side of business, the work-life balance, and the technical knowledge. So that is rare. Nobody to this point has checked every single box. So is there one thing more than another? Because obviously I only want to take up so much of y'all's time, that y'all feel that people can glean most from y'all? Like, it's very rare to have two guys that are in the shop together. Most shops are either one main person and mainly an employee, or maybe two at the most, or maybe it's just one person working by themselves. But the dynamic between y'all is very interesting. Like, y'all seem to get along really, really well, which I think is rare.
So we're on a rare aspect of that. David and I have been best friends, brothers since kids, since elementary school. 25, 30 years, like our whole lives have been in each other's lives. His family's my family's been his family. Um, and the guys that do it by themselves, I don't know how they do it. For us, it allows us to bounce off of each other because each of us has our strong suits of what we're good at and what we're better at than the other person,
Mm-hmm.
and we both balance that out. If I had to be the subject matter expert in every aspect of what I do every day, I'd go crazy. David's better at certain things than I am, and vice versa. So, having a team that you can do that with, for us, is I don't know another way of doing it. When I was doing this part time and I was working all day and doing this in the evening, I've had a few people that I worked with over the years. Until David came around, it was never going to go past my garage part time.
Mm-hmm.
David came in, and he was that piece that was missing to go to the full time aspect and just give this a go. And here we are, still 3 years later, and our bills are paid, so we're making something out of it. So.
Yeah. So we can start down the list. Like, I guess physical aspect of it. I mean, you got to be, you can't be frail and do this kind of work.
Matt over here
Unless
flexing.
you got like a bunch of mechanical advantage. Yeah. 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 You can't be frail doing this stuff. You know what I mean? Like this, like, we're not like, super athletic or anything like that, but we have been athletic through our whole lives. You know, what I mean, Matt was in the military for a long time. I was on the fire department for about 6 years. And then, we both have some good physical aspects of it. And this dude's just huge. He's like 6'4", like 350, and just like fucking all muscle and gut,
He's got the whole package, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Get the full dad bod right there, baby. And then, you know what I mean? And then, so when we do these big 800-pound pieces and stuff like that, we're just like looking, like we just look at each other and we're like, all right, well, let's just flip it. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I got my end if you got your end. So being in good physical health and physical shape is definitely a key part of it. I mean, it's when, you could do your 8-hour day, and like an 8-hour day for us is basically like, that's a part-time job. We're after like, it's like hour 10, 15, like when we're in here just freaking grinding. And then that's where your physical health, you make sure you're drinking enough Monsters. You need to have enough pizza on stock.
Yeah.
And just work hard.
The perfect fuel choice.
Dude, we should be sponsored by these cats right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, just like, yeah, you have to be in good shape to kind of to do this. If you're not like, if you can't lift over like a couple 100 pounds, or like lifting like 100 pounds repetitively throughout the day, I mean, you might be, stick to something, like decorative concrete. You do small decorative concrete. If you're going to go to like big fire pits and stuff like that, you got to be able to at least be able to physically manhandle these things a little bit, or woman handle these things. And there's some ladies out there that are pretty.
You're gonna
pretty
get canceled.
Concrete world too.
That was the last we heard of David. He was
Yeah.
no more after this date.
You can't cancel this, dude. Can't cancel it at all.
Are there any things in that particular category that you found more helpful than others? Like, do you actually put effort into that category? Is it just something that's, like some people are just more physically fit than others, whether it's genetics or they had a previous experience, like in the military, for example. Some of that has like a longer half-life than somebody who just works and then goes sits on the couch, right? Is there anything that you focus on in that category that's helpful?
Definitely exercise, like a lot of stretching. Actually, like if you start getting into like doing some yoga or something like that, a lot of stretching really helps, especially your lower back, some upper back stuff, and getting into stuff like shoot, like even like getting into stuff like doing like jujitsu or something like that, getting into rolling and doing stuff like that. That'll help with your dexterity and your flexibility a little bit and stuff like that. And then, but basically just stretching a lot helps a lot.
Are there any particular stretches you would recommend people doing on a regular basis?
Anything that includes your lower back, like just simple bend over stretches, like some yoga poses, like all the warrior poses, and you can go through some vinyasas where you're stretching your stomach, like downward dog, upward dog,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Just really kind of get like focus on your core stretches, and then before you start really lifting a lot of these heavy pieces, because like doing that it will get you kind of limbered up, so you don't you know tweak your back out or something like that. Because we both had some back injuries
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, and we just really focus on that
You'll
aspect
jack
of
your
it
back up quick if you're not
for
careful with
sure.
that. These pieces are too heavy to be fucking around with that.
Mhm. Yeah,
I'm glad that you
absolutely.
brought that up because
So we've tried over the years to mitigate what we have to pick up, to the littler stuff. Even we used to flip 700-800 pound pieces. There's videos on our page where we'd flip them, the two of us
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
by ourselves, and we've kind of gotten away from that over the years, just because it gets old. It gets over time. It really starts to get old and take a toll on you.
Mm-hmm.
So finding that mechanical advantage is always a big help. It depends on the shop size and what people are capable of if they're going to try to go that route.
Yeah.
But typically, if you're doing like we are, we just flipped over a 60 square foot single piece yesterday, and it's in the shop today to be processed. But typically you're not going to be doing those pieces unless you have a larger shop
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Which hopefully by then you'll have some of the equipment needed to flip these pieces safely,
Are there any pieces?
and then having the knowledge to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we'll do it, and we'll have the equipment. And this is an example of just the other day we flipped over that 60 square foot piece um, with nothing but just us. But yet we have the equipment here to do it. We don't need to do it just us, but we still did it
The 60 square
because we're
foot.
just
What is
fucking
the
stubborn.
actual? What are the measurements on that?
15, just over 15 by 4.5,
Okay.
right around there. So it's maybe a little over 60
Mm-hmm.
square feet.
So what are some of those tools and I think you said expertise that you would recommend people have for those bigger pieces?
For us, our bigger pieces and flipping them is we use a King's cart.
Nice.
We have a King's cart that we've modified. It's 19 feet, just under 19 feet
It's
long.
under 90 feet long.
We use it for installs, but lately we've been using it to flip the big awkward pieces.
Yeah. So we get like some awkward pieces there. Like they're in total about 6 feet wide, but they're like this section's like 30 inches and it moves over to like a big other piece that goes out, like extends out. And so they're a total like max dimension depth is 6 feet wide by like
Mm-hmm.
15 feet long. And so, yeah, the King's cart comes in because we just take that, slide it on at the King's cart, clamp it down, and it's like rotisserie and just flip that over, throw a cart underneath it, set it down on the cart, we're done. So those really big awkward ones, we use that on a regular basis because our table is 16 feet long. So then we bump it right up against our casting table, and a 20 foot or basically like a 19-foot King's cart is great. It does have some deflection in it a little bit, but we beefed it up pretty good to where it
Yeah, do
holds
you
pretty
use it
solid.
to flip 3D pieces too, or do you use something else?
Yep.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, we've done do monolithical fire pits, all kinds of stuff, waterfall, islands.
Mm-hmm.
If
They
it,
just clamp in the center of it, and we got those longer, like they're Harbor Freight clamps. We use like the longer Harbor Freight clamps to hold the waterfalls on a little bit, but our main support is like with the Husky and Betsy's along the main structure of the piece.
the whole point of the King's cart when we do, as long as we can get one clamp per 50 pounds, we have never had any type of shift with it. Flip stuff over, rotate
Nice.
it around.
Yeah, see, like
So we just keep adapting it to what we need. Like our King's cart's getting ready to go into some pretty major surgery this week because we need to narrow it to fit into a backyard. It just happens to be like an inch too wide,
oh,
and it won't clear this client's pool pump. And they live on a one-way road, so craning it over is not an option. So I'm going to cut a couple inches off this thing and re-weld on the plates or the wheels. It's going to fit.
nice.
So you got to adapt it to each job.
Hmm. Yeah, see, I'd love to get one. I just don't have it with a space for it, or I could, even if I broke it apart into the pieces, I just don't have room to store it. And I'm like, I want one so bad. Because people sing its praises, and I mean, I've met
When we
Josh
went
before,
to
so
Yeah, I've been on the phone with them quite a bit on some of the stuff I've done with it and modifying it. But when we got this shop now, we literally bought that cart during the move because we finally had the space to store it.
yeah, I love that he
Mhm.
made it where you could break it down into its components, but still, like, you still have to have a space to put the components. But ah,
Well, it's a lot of work to do that too. So you need a gantry or something like that to hold your main.
It's usually a
to
couple hours that have to be carved out when we have to modify, whether you're adding on extensions, moving stuff around. It's a half day that usually gets carved out for it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a useful tool. That tool is perfect.
We just got the new Axie pin setup that he's offering, so that's getting put on there this week.
Yeah, see, I've thought about.
So he upgraded the rotating.
Oh man, you see, I hate y'all. I've thought about getting the King's
Do it.
cart, and because I asked him, I was like, "Can you use this as like a casting table? Like put all your splines across it and flip it upside down where it's flat and use that." He's like, "You can. You just want to figure out like you need to keep it somewhat clean. Like you don't want to get spray in some of this all those different stuff." I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm playing around with
Cover
that
in plastic.
idea of actually casting on it.
I would. That's actually not a half bad idea.
Uh,
Using it, if you use it as a casting table,
and then you just clamp it and
because
flip it.
you'd be that's two major things in your shop that are doing the same
Mhm.
job. So I mean, it wouldn't be a half bad idea. You could modify it really easily for that.
Yeah, see, because I'm in a 2-car garage, so space is of the utmost important. But yeah, I mean, I need to revisit that. Maybe I'll look at doing that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and you can actually set that if you did that too. You could set the gantry of that thing on some sawhorses too. So like, so you're not just dependent on the two axle pins casting on that, and then having that middle maybe possibly bounce. Just get set up a bunch of sawhorses. Take that and set it down on the sawhorses. Slide your melamine onto it. You can even clamp your melamine down to it, cover everything else, and then build it out. Cast on it. When you're done, just after it cures, you clamp to it, flip it over, and literally flip it right on the same sawhorses, pop it off, and now you got your polishing area. And then roll that bad boy off to the side, and you're done. That'd be all in one kind of piece, and then you can use that for your installs. Absolutely, I would think that as a small shop, that'd be a huge key piece of equipment to like just you can it'd be an all in one system. And then when you do your spray ups, so you definitely want to cover the axie pins and cover the wheels and all that stuff. But yeah,
All right,
that'd
I'll
be
reach out to
perfect.
Josh and see. Yeah, because like it was one of those things where it's not cheap, so there's that, but like it's genius.
There's
Like
that,
he
yeah.
has done, in my opinion, a great service to the industry. Like that has been such a huge help to so many people. And you got some weirdos like Simon who paint it freaking pink. My soul dies every time I see his. Like freaking.
I love
Oh
it.
man, did y'all paint yours or did you leave it
Way to be
blue?
out there, Simon. Way to go, buddy. We're proud of you. We made our own. So we did.
Ours is completely raw steel for
It's
2
just still
years
raw
now.
steel. Yeah. So when we did it,
Got a nice rust color to it.
yeah, we got the kit for it. So we just basically got the
Patina.
axie pin and like basically the build specs for it. Yeah, it's got the patina look.
So we bought the DIY kit and then sourced all the steel here locally, and then I put it all together and welded it up.
Nice. Yeah, see, I don't have that expertise. Or there's that. I am so glad that this is going to sound like a complete 180 turn, but I love that you mentioned yoga because our industry is like the flat work guys, it's the construction guys, it's like we're the manly men, and like you mentioned like yoga and some of the things that are a little bit maybe frou-frou or fluffy or however you like to put it. It was
Yeah.
like those are the things that are going to keep you from losing your mind or destroying your body. And like nobody is impressed on how badass you think you are when you hurt yourself because you're a fucking idiot. So
Yep. Exactly. You got to keep your body good. So I fucking run circles around people, dude. just as far as work, just because I put myself in that position, be able to be somewhat healthy, and then being limber.
yes,
It's like, why wouldn't you? Yeah, I mean, you look at the top team guys; they're like every one of them, dude. They're all super flexible, super fit, and it's just the way to be.
Yeah, I'm going through and doing the knee I've got to fix my knees. I'm doing the I don't know if you've heard of
Knees over toes.
yep, I'm going through and I'm doing his program right now. I'm like 7 weeks in. Um and you look stupid as hell cuz you're doing a lot of stuff backwards.
Yep.
So like every morning I've got I'm running backwards down the fucking street like a retard. Well, I guess you're not allowed to say that anymore. Like an idiot. Um
Yeah.
but like I'm starting to see progress on like because your knees, man, after years and years of soccer, man, I've got to fix those. So I think I don't know, maybe it sounds trivial to you for me saying thank you for something like that, but like it's the things that people don't want to talk about that I have to like pull out of people for whatever reason. Nobody wants to mention the things that maybe on the outside aren't as cool, you know?
Right. Well, that's all your. It goes into the next topic. Is like that's all in your mindset. Yeah, like in your mindset, you got to be like, fuck what everybody else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be good for you at the end of the day? Because if you're not at the end of the day, you feel like shit and you can't do all this stuff, and like you're freaking yeah. If you're spent from just like doing like an 8 hour day or something like that, just doing a little bit of stuff, I mean, there's something wrong there. You know, so you got to change your
Mm-hmm.
mindset. That's 100%. It's your mindset's got to be fixed first before you can do your physical. You get your mindset right, then you start rolling into your physical into that, then you be a freaking monster.
Mm-hmm. What do y'all use to improve that? Like, is there anything that's helped more than another? Or that you either have done in the
Ah,
past as a like a somewhat one-off type thing, or that you make sure to do on a continual basis, going as like a maintenance type process?
I don't know, like for me, man, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Like when we're working and we got like we're just doing like just because like, most of the time Matt and I'm either in the wood in the casting shop or over here in the polishing palace. I'll have an audiobook on like all
Yeah,
day long.
listen to a lot of books as well. In fact, I just listened to the book you had recommended on your last podcast. I'm just about done with it today.
Which one is that?
Steal Like an Artist.
Mm, amazing book. Like
I think so. I think so.
it. If there's one book that I would recommend more than that, it's The War of Art. That is the one book that I would say everybody has to read. Regardless of whether you're
Yeah,
doing like concrete stuff, wood stuff, it like even if you're a lawyer, like I don't think it matters. Like that is I don't think that there's a better book than that. And then the next one would be Seth Godin's book. I think it's called The Practice. I think is what it's called. Um,
yeah.
fantastic if you have not the
I haven't got that one yet. The War of Art I got on my I read I listened to a few I listened to the audio like so I listened to that a couple
mhm.
times already. It's a good book. To retain that it's like it's long. This you gotta really
I like his
put
voice.
that in a
It's
file
easy to
folder.
listen to.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then recently, just like staying motivated and stuff like that. I listened to that new Goggins book.
Mhm.
That one just gets you fucking pumped. You're like, yep, fuck everything else. I'm gonna just keep fucking hammering. Or like the other guy, Cameron Haynes, the keep hammering
Mhm.
guy too. Like you just listen to those dudes about doing what they do and just keep hammering. It's like, yeah, I'll do this. I started listening to those books, dude, and I fucking run a 24-hour day here at the shop. I'm like, fuck, sun's coming back up.
Yeah.
I call the wife in the morning. Hey, baby, good morning. I'll be home in like 20
Mhm.
at home.
You might need to add sleep to your physical health thing that you're working on then.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. Because as soon as I go to sleep, I don't want to get up. I'll sleep until I just wake up. But when I'm up, I fucking go until I pass out.
I don't know. We got a little bit of a finger pointing over here from Matt. So what was the finger pointing for the sleep part? Give us the juicy details.
He doesn't sleep enough. He don't sleep enough.
Mm,
He's not kidding on 24-hour shifts and 20-hour shifts. Both of us are guilty of it. You know, sometimes it requires it,
mm-hmm.
um, but sometimes you just do it. You just got to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
But the hardest thing to be is once you start getting into those habits, is breaking them so they don't become the norm.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
You know, and I think the biggest struggle with anybody in it's self-employed is that balance between work and home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
100%. So that's something I struggle with it. He struggles with it, and I guarantee everybody out there at some point in their career will struggle with it.
yeah, for sure.
Do y'all have any hard limits that you place on anything to kind of keep that in check?
It's gotten pretty out of hand for us probably the last
Mm-hmm.
6 months. So we've had a lot of discussions, and we got some plans next year to put some rules on it that to make some big changes so we don't get out of hand again.
Yeah. So we like because we kind of overcommitted. So we had a bunch of like builders and stuff that say, hey, we want this, you know, we want to get you on the docket for this. Okay, cool. And they're like, we're not ready yet. So all right, well, we'll get you on the schedule, like the schedule, and just let us know when you're ready for it. And then what happened was all these builders just hit at the same
Oh
time between
no.
October and into now. They're like, hey, we're ready, and everyone's ready at the same time. So we got like,
And
like
that was on like the piggybacking of a pretty rough summer. It
yeah,
was a hot
Mm-hmm.
summer, We had a little bit of we'll call it employee issues, so that we had to overcome. And then cause we tried to do the employee thing, so at that point we went back to just the two of us. And
Mm-hmm.
then we had a few projects. So I'm saying they're just bad luck. You know, those projects that you got to do 2 or 3 times to
Mm-hmm.
get them right. That was just a perfect storm of everything that happened that forced us. The only way to fix it was more hours.
Just pounded.
We had to get through that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on the tail end of that right now. We should be done and officially done Friday.
Yeah, we would have caught back up Friday because we had our guy here. He messed about 4 or 5 jobs in a row, and we're like, because we had him polishing, and he was doing pretty good for a little while. So we kind of let him loose a little bit more, and then look back, and then he's burning through face coats, and just it was just like a thing, and just trying to coach somebody to help somebody out, and then it
Mm-hmm.
just eventually we're like, man, sorry, we just got to let you go. And then so when we did that though, basically we just decided, his salary essentially was going to basically pay for the new shop. So in order to expand and be able to do a lot of this work, and that's why we decided to do the second shop. It kind of all just happened right around the same time. We're like, okay, the shop opened up, and it's kind of a blessing. We're like, okay, we kind of to be able to get through this, we need to be able to pump out, like, so I need to be able to cast and build
Mm-hmm.
every day.
And we did.
And we can
There's a
build,
few weeks there we were building and casting the same day, 5 days a week.
yeah. So we pump out like 400 square feet in a week,
Yeah. What are some of those things that you're putting into
and
place
then
to kind of offset that in the future? I know you just mentioned that there are some things that you. What
we
are some of
did.
those things, if you don't mind sharing?
So we're gonna put a limit on our square footage every month. So we're basically our minimum square footage we need to do is roughly
About 250 square feet is
Mm-hmm.
where I start with. Get that to where we're working at reasonable hours, and then slowly increase our throughput without staying here too late. My goal is to be home every day by a certain time.
Yeah. So in doing that, right? So that's what we schedule. Like we're gonna start planning to do, like, say, set our limit at say 200, 250 square foot a month, and then we'll leave. So we know we can obviously we do way more than that, but we'll do that as a minimum as for clients. So say, hey, we got now we're gonna separate between clients and builders now. So that's kind of, before we were just doing it all in one big bubble, and we just been rapid fire blasting all this stuff. So now we're gonna basically schedule our client work, like for homeowners and stuff like that. We're not gonna schedule more than, like, say, maybe 100 to 150 square feet, maybe 200 square feet a month for client stuff. And then so that when we get a drop from a builder, say, hey, I need to get these. Okay, hey, I need you to come to these 3 houses that I'm working on. I need a barbecue for this one, a couple vanities for this one, and so we can sprinkle in stuff like that, so we're not held up too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's what
We're,
that's
we're,
we're
we're
at the
trying to
process.
detour too a lot from the homeowner aspect. We found there's more sanity in working with builders and commercial
Better
and
Is
process
that
homeowners.
flow.
specifically builders, or when you say builders, you're kind of lumping in the trades into that, like your architecture designers, or are you specific?
Yeah, we're lumping
Yeah.
them in. We kind of want to detour away from working directly for a
Mm-hmm.
homeowner. They can anybody knows that they can be very difficult sometimes to work with.
Time consuming too.
Yeah, well, because
They don't see what we see, and 7 trips to their house, and we haven't even picked a color yet. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's 7 hour. That's a whole day throughout the last couple of weeks that I've wasted driving out there for nothing.
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause it's tough on those guys. I feel for them. Like the homeowners, I totally feel for them because they're trying to do it on a budget, and they're trying to buy some high end stuff, and it's just they're not a GC. This is like their first time doing, like, their remodel in their
Mm-hmm.
home, and, like, so the cabinets are not in yet, and like then they push their plan out, and like, so the problem is, like, it's just like their lack of knowledge of, like, remodeling a home essentially. And so that's where we come into the problem. Like, we, because for us, man, I just try to be helpful as possible. I'm like, lady, like or gentleman or whoever I'm talking to, it's like, your expectations aren't realistic. It's like, oh, we just bought our house, we got it in November, we ordered cabinets, and they said they're going to be in by December 1st. Do you think you can have our kitchen done by, like, before Christmas or something like that? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then they get their cabinet ordered. This is all talking pre-talk, right? And then they're like, yeah, the cabinets are not going to be until March. I'm like, yeah, that sounds
I could have told you
more
that.
realistic. You know what I mean? I'm like, so but it always seems like we're the ones breaking the bad news to these guys. We're just like, and I try to be genuine and as loving as possible. So at the end of the day, because we actually give a shit. You know what I mean? I care about, like, it's not that I care about, like, doing their work, and, like, because I want to be able to be an artist and make stuff at one point, but at the end of the day, I also give a shit about people in general. Like, the first thing I ask them, how you doing today? How's life going? How's your kids doing? I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what I really fucking care about. And then like, okay, cool, we're gonna do this job for you. We're gonna make something badass, and like, let me do what I do and be an artist, and then and we'll collaborate on it. But at the end of the day, I think we get a lot of repeat customers and our builders and our clients and stuff like that. Is because we can call them up now. Like a lot of our clients, see, we can literally probably call and say, hey, you guys want to go have a beer this Friday? We're gonna meet you down at there we go. Back in. Back in.
You're learning.
Got
Matt moved that time. I saw it.
I don't touch computers.
it. So yeah, I know you got
Uh,
but at the end of the day, like I was saying, like I care about people more, than like, and so that becomes kind of difficult being a business owner. It's like hard to break that bad news, or it just happens. So like when we deal with builders, they're like, yep, we need this. This is what we want. This is what our designer spec'd out. This, here you go. And then it's like nice, cut, clean, and dry. So then it actually has more time for that personal aspect of it. Because when you buy stuff from us, it's like you're getting Matt and I. You ain't getting anything else but us at the end of the
mhm.
day.
Are y'all creating that personal connection when you're there in the home with the homeowner, even if you're working through a builder?
Yep. Oh yeah, most of the time we do. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the builders we work for,
Nice.
first name basis, call them up. We're on their personal, maybe social media pages. I've been invited to their houses for birthday parties and stuff like that. We create that relationship. Because stuff does go
How
wrong.
did you get to that point?
Constant, just consistently. Like David said, we're genuine. We'll come out. We're going to tell you how it is. We're caring on how it matters, on how it is. We'll ask them how they're doing. Kids and stuff like that. Get to know them on a personal level. It doesn't have to always be business when you go to these houses and you meet people. There could be some personal stuff
Mhm.
in there.
Mm-hmm.
This might be a little bit too natural for y'all, but like, what? Maybe somebody who's not where those maybe those personal connections or communication isn't as natural. What does that initial interaction look like? Um, I think it seems to be kind of difficult for the people who are like naturally outgoing or naturally a people person, whether they're an introvert or an extrovert. It doesn't seem to matter as much as being people centric like that.
Yeah.
So you might not even be able to answer that question, but like, what does that look like? The initial contact.
Don't start with business. Ask them how their day is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ask them how it's going.
Yeah. How you doing? What's up?
And don't just get an answer and then move on to business. Sometimes chit chat and talk and just BS for a few minutes. All right, now let's get to the nit and gritty and talk business.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like it's basically like breaking the ice, like basically stating like a lot of the big thing is like stating the obvious, right? So like you walk up to a person, you kind of feel like what they're about, So we've had clients like that are like kind of standoffish, and they're just flustered and stressed out, Like, man, you seem pretty. And I just say it like, man, you seem pretty stressed out. How's it going? And he's like, yeah, I've already had people trying to do cast in place pieces here, and they're like, I had to fire them off. Like these are we're walking into jobs where people fired them off jobs, you know what I mean, or like they've already fired contractors and stuff like that, so they're kind of just overwhelmed to begin with. And I just what I mean, like just looking at people, you can kind of like, man, you seem pretty overwhelmed. What's up? And they're like, yeah, and they'll tell you the whole story. I'm like, well, that friggin' sucks, It's like, what did they do wrong? And like, kind of like, I don't just ask them point blank what they do wrong, but I say like, hey, you look stressed out, and then you kind of find out, all right, so like, what can I do to kind of like offset that? You called me here to do a job, because you seen my post, or you seen like our stuff on social media, because that's the only place where we really advertise, and at the end of the day, so I already know you want my product, but like, so now you're gonna also get, like, I don't want to be another pain point in your process. And they kind of get like a lot of our clients get that up front, so we're, like, we have been late, like this last 6 months we've been late on a client for like 4 months. We're just like, we're because it just everything just hit the fan, and so we had to push out our homeowner client rather than, but they were totally cool with it. You're like, you guys are great, thanks for talking to me, and they'll come to the shop and hang out with us a little bit, and it's just building that rapport. So I've had some clients that are like, I just want this, I want to get it done. I'm like, okay, cool. And you just kind of, they just like they don't want to have a conversation necessarily, just like kind of get what they want across. And then those are great too, but they know that we're like, they call me at like 8 o'clock at night, and then I'll still pick up the phone like, hey, what's up, what's going on, kind of thing. So you just kind of build that
Hmm.
relationship. So some clients want to do it, but you find more times more times than not that people just, you just got to be personal with people, you know, like, yeah, like, hey, I'll be there in a little bit. I'm just drop my kids off at school. And they're like, oh, right on. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Or, you know what I mean? Or like just kind of you just be real with people. Cause when you're not being real, you're just kind of being like a robot essentially. Like, yep, this is it. This is my square footage. This is my price. This is the color. This is all I got. And, you know, like those are all things, but you can also like work those into it, you know. It's like kind of it's
Mm-hmm.
things called having soft skills, like being able to have soft skills and mold to people's way they want to have a conversation. And I feel like I've been doing that for ever, like, you know, in big business and stuff like that, and working in the big corporate world. And I just learned how to do that and transfer that into our day-to-day lives here at the shop.
How did you develop that, Matt?
I'd take David's lead on it. I don't have a lot of those initial skills. That's
Nice.
where his strength came in.
Mm-hmm.
Being that I'm a bigger guy, I tend to intimidate people a lot. So I've just followed his skills and learned from him over the years, um, and developed them myself.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Not many people are
So when we
willing
go
to
on,
learn from somebody that's right there next to them.
Everything in life's a learning experience. Once you stop learning, you're done.
yeah,
So I'll never stop learning.
Well,
yeah,
that in
that
and of
like when we go
itself
to
is
like these
rare.
big contractor, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Matt will take it like the beer, like the guys are like really direct and stuff like that. But like then Matt will start talking to those cats and they
Yeah,
just like
and
hit
there's
it off.
like you said, there's times I gotta step in because they're, I don't know.
It's just different the way they talk.
Just
They like,
depends on the person's personality that we're dealing with on who's better for them to meet. David's more in like the homeowner aspect. He's really good with them, getting personal with everybody. Then when you get with like a GC or a builder, and they deal with trades all day long, I'll come in. You know,
Nice. So jealous of the mix that y'all got there. Yeah, y'all suck. Uh,
well, if you want to move out to
oh
Phoenix, you
man,
can always use another guy here. Let's go.
man, I am not turning into a raisin. There's no way that that's
It's
happening.
a little warm.
I see. I love Florida. If anything, I'd move even further south if I could. Um, we believe in freedom.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
uh, oh man, y'all are a blast to talk with. Like I don't feel like I have to like pull information out of y'all. Of course, there's two of you, so like when one's quiet, the other one speaks in. So that's helpful. I need to have two people on more often. This is easier.
Yeah. It gets the flow pretty good for sure. It definitely does. Yeah, like we're like open books, man. So if anybody wants to, like got any questions or anything like that, we don't have any secrets or anything like that, you know. So it's like we just we just go full send all the time. And so like we've been doing that for a while now. So that this next year, we're not going to throttle back, but we're going to just basically kind of get that stable baseline to where, you know, like we can have like some consistency. Because but if there's like where we need to just push a little harder, we'll do it. It's no big deal. But we're gonna try to get that little. We're gonna be working on the work-life balance thing. We get like the message from Cody how to like basically run your business and work on your business, not in your business, kind of thing. And I like
hmm
that message and that mindset. So that's really awesome to do because we learned a lot from that guy. You know, going to Seal, like working with Seal here and like beta testing that like right
hmm
at the get go, and then just getting a little wild with that, and then that was phenomenal. That was like a total game changer for us. That's what we doubled in size just because of that alone.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of feedback like that. I mean, there's obviously only like 3 episodes up right now, but like the amount of people that have been commenting about that particular episode is
Very
exponentially
notable.
larger than everything that would happen before that. Not that the other episodes were like bad or people didn't like them, but for some reason, people really resonated with that episode. I'm not 100% sure why. It wasn't too well. We ended up talking about topics a lot more than like when I talked with Caleb. There was a lot of story in there. So maybe
Mm.
people don't jive with that as much. I think maybe that was what it is. But I'm still new at this, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So there's that.
Yeah, just send it. I mean, just go with it, right? You just start having the conversations, and then they'll just kind of direct themselves, you know, which is awesome. Like when I saw you start doing this, I was like, yeah, I want to get on board with this. This guy's is doing it right. You know what I mean? It's just having the conversations and doing it. It's like the best way to go about it.
Yeah. The question is, since there's so much stuff for us to talk about, even if you just leave it as just the material, the amount of things that we could talk about is just astronomical. Um, you talk about internal reinforcement, external reinforcement, mixed designs, this fibers over those fibers. Do you prefer glass? Do you prefer basalt? Do you like? There's just so much. Rapid set, Portland. I mean, like, it can be overwhelming what to talk about. Um, so I think I really like I really like the laid back kind of approach that y'all have to it. It's like, just pick something, go with it, try it, see what happens, and then reiterate. Like, just keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again.
Mhm.
And eventually you'll come out on the tail end and be like, huh, I've got a few things that work. And then you can kind of
Yeah.
build on those.
Yeah,
Uh,
heck yeah. That's the way to do it. I would say just pick one thing, start doing that, rock and roll that for a little while, learn everything you can about it, and then try something new. Like, just taking that advice, because if you just start with rapid set and do that whole bit, it's fantastic. It'd be totally fine. 100% be fine. Or if you want to, buy a bag mix from whoever, those are great too, as long as you can budget for it and everything like that. It's good. It's all good stuff. It's not like there's nothing bad about it. Like right now, because like especially when you start building that initial, where you messed up and broke stuff, that's where you really learn, because you like, okay, I broke it because of this, or it cracked because of this, and you kind of figure those things out. Not enough water, too much water, and you figure that out, dude. I can go down to Home Depot now and just go get the regular bag mixes, and then start. I can go make tables out of that, like, just with the knowledge that I've gained over all of that. I can use any kind of bag mix from Depot or something like that, and then just roll with it and make something cool out of it, like, no problem. Like, I'm like, yep, I got enough gut intuition to just, I could just do this and just literally just do it on the fly. Well, I don't need to measure my water weight or anything. I just look at my mix and know if how it's gonna flow. Like, or like, if I'm gonna do a spray, if I can just look at the mix and say, hey, that's, do we're a little like, this is like the kiln dried sand or something like that. It's a little too dry or something like that. It's pulling more moisture out of it. Add a little bit, like maybe add like another quarter pound of water of it in it, or like, what I mean, a little bit plastic. Like, you have to do your water to plasticizer ratio a little bit different, so it doesn't foam up or anything like that. I can just look at it and tell you what it needs.
mhm.
And you get to that level, you're
Th-
like, okay, cool.
this might not be as applicable to y'all as it is for like a one man shop like mine, but is there a way that you catalog those types of things that you're learning along the way to um like, do you do video notes? Do you text each other to make sure that you remember these different things? Because there again, like we've talked about so many times already, there's just so much to learn. Uh, I am probably the one of the quotes that I love more than people are gonna get tired of me hearing this or saying this, but I'm gonna say it again. Is the dullest pencil is better than the sharpest mind, hands down, any day of the week. Is there a way that
Yeah.
you catalog those things that you're learning along the way? Because if you're relying on memory, I assume between the two of you, that actually might work a little bit better than like a one person shop. But a one person shop, you're going to forget, guaranteed.
So it's a lot of memory. It was memory at first. Now, doing the amount of volume we're doing, it's not feasible anymore. So now we're getting better at it, where we'll document. We have a clipboard that follows each project. Each job gets notes as we cast,
Mm-hmm.
what it felt like, and a lot of the notes sometimes are feelings. How the mix feel like. Here's little notes on it, and then when the job gets to the very end, we'll go back into the file that created the Excel that started the project. I'll add the notes to that and then do a save there. So if we have to bring up an old job, it's in there. So say we're at a house and we did their kitchen and now they want their bathrooms done. We'll pull up their job that we did 2 years ago and get an idea of what was going on that day, what changes we had to make so that we can try to hit it the same.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like, so if I add a little bit more water to mix, or if I like my plasticizer load, I go a little bit higher with it. I'll make a note of that. Or if we do humidity that day, if we cast it in the summer or the winter, because we have a humidity clock on the wall, so we just kind of do that to make those notes. 'Cause if we break it, right, so that's all documentation up front. If we break a piece or something, or for like we get that map cracking or something like that, we kind of know why. Like, oh, roughly from face code to back code, it took me 25 minutes rather than 10 or 5 minutes or something like that. I'll know that was the time span. And you know what I mean? Like, I'll have like a general idea of like what happened. So you kind of paint that picture. I learned that in EMS, where you learn how to basically when you're doing your report, you learn how to paint that picture of what's happening. And so
Mm-hmm.
when someone's reading the report, you'd be like, oh, okay, I get the gist of, how that call went or how our process went. So yeah, we gather a lot of our
Nice.
old past experience, like everything we learned like throughout our lives, kind of boiled all down into basically doing this, starting a business and doing this.
Yeah, I would assume that since you're keeping notes that are a lot more detailed than I think is probably common, that even though you're not saying, even though you don't have like a note of some type, like we did this and it cracked, and you keep that in a specific spot, it's still captured in a form for each project. So even though it's not like a note of this one particular thing, it's a aggregate of all those things kept in each project file. So that's an interesting way of doing it. That's probably actually more applicable for most people, because that that's come up several times where someone will have a clipboard. It depends on what's on the clipboard per shop, but like a lot of people have started using that where they track like what's the mix design, what happened during that day, and then some notes that happened. Do you keep that in physical form? Like, do you have a file folder, or do you put it there on the
No,
computer
at
digitally?
the end of the
Until
job,
the end,
at
yeah.
the end, there's a clipboard that follows the job, because on there we also keep track of like each step of the job, what date it was done, and who did it. You know, who casted it, who built the mold, who sealed it. So we have that as a reference down the road. Well,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you sealed this job, and now we're having an issue with the sealer. You know, granted, we don't really have those issues, but it's documented. At the very end of the job, when the job's all installed and everything's done, we'll take that clipboard, any notes that are on it, we'll add it to a file in a client folder, and then we'll save it on there, and then all the documents are gone. We throw them all
Yeah,
out. We
we
shred them
shred
all
them
away.
all. We're doing this
Nice.
process to try to like get to the point where we can have employees. We're like between him and I, we're trying to iron this out pretty good. Where we're like, okay, like have like an if and then column, right? So this is the process. If this happens, do this. And you know, what I mean, we already have like a template for that set up, because right now, like you said, right now we do it all by memory, and we just because we could do it by feel and just not even blink an eye, and we already kind of know what to do next. But how to relay that to somebody? So like I think again, this maybe at the middle of this year, something like that, we're going to look for another employee and try to basically dial them into like after we dial in these processes where like have those if and then statements, have like for each process step, then we can go down and say, okay, this is what we already have the process down, like I did this, I casted this is what happened, this is the date we did it, I covered the cast at 12:05, it was covered, so by 12:05 the next or that night we can pop it and then let it, I mean, it'd be fast enough to ready to pull, so we can kind of like a time
Mm-hmm.
track thing. So when we have employees, if we can get like a night shift guy or something like that, say, hey, you can pop this at like I was done at this time, you can pop it then, and you know what I mean. So that we can kind of really dial down
Mm-hmm.
that.
And we're doing more now with our documentation and our keeping of those records, because we feel that our next position that we're going to look to hire, because we've tried different positions around the shop. We've hired installers, we've hired people to polish, and they just never work out. So we're going the next route. Our next try is going to be to hire an office person, and they're going to handle this side of
Mm.
stuff. So we're trying to develop all the processes. So when we bring someone in, it's not just, oh, here's some documents, figure it out. Like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to file them this way. You're going to save files this way, email response, whatever their job, the whole job will encompass. But that's the job that we're focused on now, and how we can build that position to where we can just hand it over to an employee, and then it's kind of foolproof.
Mhm.
Yeah, it seems like it might be easier to find somebody to be able to do something like that as opposed to like because there's so much of a learning curve with like polishing, for example.
Yeah,
Like
we had a guy in
there's
that
so much that
polished.
goes on before that point.
Yeah, we had a guy that came in.
Mm-hmm.
He actually went to school to polish granite. Okay, it's not too, the tooling's kind of the same,
So yeah.
but it was still different. And he was looking for different things within the material for his signs of how to move on to grits, and there was still a big learning curve there. And try to undo knowledge that
Mm-hmm.
he already had was being more difficult than anything. So we think that's why we're going to go with the
Mm-hmm.
office point of view. It keeps us too. David and I are still in full control of the creative side and the actual side of what matters on the material going out the door.
Quality at the end of the day,
Quality, yeah.
quality, man.
Keeping
We
our
just
quality standard. Our quality standard is above everything. It's quality over everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cody talked about that quite a bit in his. He's like, that's that's the tough part, man.
Mhm.
No one's gonna care. I mean, an employee
I
that
don't.
makes a salary doesn't care. They don't have any skin in the game. So what do they care if something goes out the door and it's not perfect? They get paid at the end of the week. When it goes out the door and it's not perfect, I don't get paid. So there's difference in putting people in those positions. It hasn't worked out for us yet. So
Yeah.
we're looking at other avenues for it.
Yep. And then I'd like
Mhm.
shout out to Carpenter. He's the only reason why I think we're like big into this game, right?
Yeah,
Our our
he
first job was
he left Phoenix when we kind of started everything.
yeah. So that was our jumping off point, right?
Yeah, our first real big job was one that he was had almost was going to do.
Yeah, and he moved out of town.
He's
That's
really.
kind of
He
wild.
seems to be really happy with where he moved.
Oh,
Oh
he's
yeah,
killing it. He's killing it.
I wouldn't want to be there, but
I like to see guys out there killing it, dude. It's so cool to watch guys out there just making cool stuff. And then like we did that the
training thing.
seal hair training thing up in Utah. That was a blast. Me and all those guys out there and
Mhm.
like doing that deal. Super pumped. That was like awesome getting to know a lot of those cats and seeing them doing really good. And then we're actually up for World of Concrete. I think this year we're gonna head out there this year with a few guys from out there. So if anybody's going out to World of Concrete this year, let us know. We'll be out there. We'll hang out and do lunch or something. Go get a few beers and go get a little crazy out there. It'd be fun.
yeah, we've got a few events that people are trying to put on here coming up in the not too distant future. It's going to be interesting to see how some of those turn out.
Yeah, heck yeah. I like to see that go down.
Are there any crazy things that y'all are working on right now?
No, just big rectangles.
Big rectangles at the moment.
What recommendations do you have for people that are wanting to flip those pieces? Because those are more fragile in some ways than your 3D pieces because you get your rigidity from those
Mhm.
L's, or like if it's a box or something like that. Those are inherently significantly stronger. How would you recommend somebody going
Yeah, I just say
and flipping those?
If they're new, like someone
Uh
starting out lower in this
yeah,
business,
we'll do both. So let's say that somebody's been, yeah, let's just say somebody is, they're not as experienced with flipping larger pieces. What are some things that they, like, how would they go about doing that? This is
get
not
it low,
structural. This is
get it on
just
the ground.
recommendations. Don't kill yourself.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
pretty much. We found when we first started out is get it low. If you get it on the ground, at least if something goes wrong, it's only falling a little bit. If you got that thing 3-4 feet in the air, it's coming down on you. So getting it low into the ground, and then what we did when we first started, make sure you have a lot of good friends
Get
because
some
we would
neighbors.
call people up all the time. My neighbors, when we worked out of my garage, were always over helping us. I'd call, and they knew when I was calling them what I was calling them for. I need to flip a countertop over.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, like a good little like a Harbor Freight gantry crane or something like that.
Mhm.
It's really handy. Like those are really handy. Get some good straps, and then learn how to rig. So like we both have experience rigging. 'Cause I did like confined space rescue. Matt did rigging for like
In the military, we did.
hooking up friggin' tanks to helicopters and stuff like that. So, you know what I mean? So you learn how to rig a little bit. Just get a little bit like a couple YouTube videos on just how to rig something up. But yeah, for that, or like unless you got to go the route we mentioned earlier, doing the King's cart thing, use that as your casting table and your flipping table. I mean, or get a flip cart or something like that. They have a thing on YouTube or like a spec on. I think Trinic has a thing for like a specs for to make a flip cart. I
Mhm.
think it might charge like
I
20
don't. I
bucks now
don't.
for it or something
No,
like
it's
that.
free now. You
That's
just
free now.
call Mark and get it.
Yeah,
But
Colmark get that. But like having like the right tools for the job. If you're going to go big, make sure you have the equipment to go a little bit bigger, right? Like something like a King's card or a flip card or something like that. If you're just going to raw dog it, just get it low and flip it on the floor, and then find a way to get it back up onto a cart. Like angle it and just find that pivot point and just lay it up on there.
Mhm.
And then if you have something with cutouts too, I recommend not doing the cutouts. If you're doing a barbecue grill cutout, just leave that all in and cut it out on site. That'll save the life of your flip. You won't have those fissure cracks in the corners and stuff like that where your radiuses are. If you have the ability to do that, that makes a world of difference. Um, and confidence in flipping because you'll have a solid piece rather than like a piece that has like a U-shaped piece where you're just trying to flip in that little center area. It'll just twist and crack,
Mhm.
and so that helps out pretty good. Unless you have a sink, the sinks are kind of like you got to do it.
Yeah.
But something like a grill cutout or like an ice bin cutout, those are great and easy to do.
Yeah, some people swear by the what are they called, sink savers, where if you're gonna flip that, use that, or they'll use
We have
like
them
Yep.
what else will they use? Angle iron and C clamps. I think there's the other thing that people usually use.
in there.
Yep, that works fantastic. The yeah, and then get a set of aqua jaws. Those aqua jaws are pretty cool. Or the Omni, what are the other ones? Aqua jaws, and what are the other ones called?
I don't know, the scissor
The
clamp. I don't
scissor
know.
clamps or whatever. To use those for carrying, but you have to have a buddy for that.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, those the aqua jaws are fantastic for installs. And then we were just with Henry with HK Concrete. He's up here about an hour and a half, 2 hours north of us. He has a that Pro 2 AT cart from Omni, and that we got. He met me with I had a install in Prescott, Arizona, which is about an hour north, or hour and a half north from where we're at, and he met me out there to help me with the install, and he brought his cart out there, and that thing was glorious. It was a Pro AT2 cart, and we were going through mud and like through all that stuff, and that thing just trucked on through it, and I had it was a 130 square foot countertop. It just rolled right through it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm talking with him
So
tomorrow.
getting something like that, if you're a bigger shop, that'd be nice to have.
Mm.
Yeah, it's on our Christmas list for sure.
This Christmas list of yours seems to be
I was
getting
a
quite
true
long and
believer in that.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about like 30, 40 grand worth of crap.
Oh man. Um I mean, I don't know that I want to take up too much of y'all's time unless there was something else that you wanted to talk about. Um
I think the one big thing that I'd like to just push out onto everybody that's in this industry is we're a niche industry. We're very small,
mhm.
and helping each other out is what's going to grow the industry. It's like David said, like we call other guys in the area and they'll help us with installs. Henry's saved our ass a few times this year with materials that we needed, pigments, and we try to reciprocate where we can, online with the on the pages and sharing knowledge. The more we can all help this industry grow and share, the more success we're all going to have. And we got to get that mindset from so many people out there that concrete's not the right material, and it's only going to change that by us sharing knowledge and us all having a higher quality product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I think you might be surprised at how what would be a good way to explain it, how rare that sentiment is. I know there's a lot of people that say it, and I don't know if they say it because it's a good like sound bite or it's because people feel like that's what they should say. I can't quite figure out what it is. Um, but when it comes to like rubber hitting the road, like that's when you lose people. Like when it comes time for them to share something.
It's actions speak louder than words. I mean, everybody says it.
Mm-hmm.
Who does it?
Yeah.
I started almost, 2016, almost 7 years ago, I started this, and I can remember asking questions online and being, ridiculed, told, you know, no, and some of the stuff that was
You're a
said
fucking
to me.
idiot.
Yeah, like how could you ask that question? Like I can remember being that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I see those people online asking the questions, I try to give as much knowledge as I can to that. And
Or here's my phone number.
and
Give me a ring, man.
yeah, it's the same people always that are passing on knowledge. I think the more people that we can get to pass on knowledge and to share, and I get it, we all have certain secrets that are very, proprietary to us. I'm not saying open up your doors, give out your mix design down to the exact gram, but giving people enough of the knowledge, to help out.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember times, Patrick, where I've reached out online and you've given me enough direction on colors. We were doing a blue sample for somebody. You gave me enough direction to go,
Mm-hmm.
but there was other people on there that just like, we'll use blue pigment. Well, obviously, but you helped out with some colors on what to mix and a starting point, and it got us to where we needed to go, and it worked out. And just so many people just don't want to share knowledge nowadays. It's just you're hurting the industry.
Yeah, the trick is figuring out where that line is. And I think Brent actually, again, pester him next time you talk to him.
I will.
Brent had a pretty good way of explaining it where point people in the general direction, give enough stuff to work with, or if they've been in the forums and you've seen that they're kind of helping people, then you can give a little bit more information. But you learn so much from having just enough information to take that next step in the dark, right? It's when you're maybe too many steps into the dark that you just don't know which direction to go. So that one little step, or the direction, like try going over here and doing this, and then they can kind of get the rest of the way themselves, I think is the way that is. Yeah, I think people think that they have to give away everything, just like the erosion finish that I've mentioned a few times. Like, I can't give that out. I've got stupid amounts of hours into figuring out how that works. And then, like, you've mixed up colors before, so you understand, like, I'm happy to kind of point you in the direction, but, like, you've got hundreds of hours into coming up with these mix designs where it's just like, use this percentage, like, maybe not so much that. But I'm glad that helped,
Well,
because
and if you
I
just
feel
give
like,
them the answer,
go ahead.
if you just give someone the answer, you're not going to help them either.
Mm-hmm.
That's why giving them the right direction can really help. It's the guys, honestly, that just don't want to help out at all.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's so secret. I have no secret. I mean, somebody could start up a shop doing what we do down the street, and I'd invite them down here and give them an open house. I'm confident enough in our business and in our product and that our industry
It's
is
just
too
in us. We're
small.
confident in us. You know what I mean? Because at the
It's
end of the day, they're buying us. They're not buying.
There's not enough of us out there that none of this is competition.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple other big guys here in the valley, and we've all helped each other out with materials, saving each other's asses because you needed a polymer on a Saturday,
Yep.
pigments that are back ordered, or just let's go get a beer and fucking talk shop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there ain't no other need for anything other than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It'll be interesting to see. There have been several people who, after seeing the first couple of episodes come out, they've been more inclined to come on. I think they're just a little too concerned with, like, what the format would look like, what would it look like, what we would talk about, what does the finished product look like when it comes out online, or whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. This whole project hinges on whether people are willing to come on and talk or not.
Yeah, I hope they do. I really hope they do. I mean, because it's a great way to kind of just like build, like, to really build the community a little bit. I mean, like, because we built the community online, right, with like on Facebook forums and stuff like that. It's like pretty prominent there, but I try not to be on like my phone too much, or like on Facebook and
Mm-hmm.
all that much, you know. So, but doing like stuff like this, like, I'd rather give somebody a call. Like we got Jason Gillis out in Boston, Mass, out there. I talk to that guy on the phone every once in a while, or like Travis, or up here and with HK Concrete in Phoenix. So, like, I call that dude kind of off, like, often. Big shout out to that guy. That dude's phenomenal, by the way. Same with Jay, and like everything that Matt talks to Brent, and like like we got our community that around us, like people we talk to, and it's just like it's phenomenal. But if we can do that kind of like in a podcast forum, and then being able to get people together and like talking about stuff, or like, problems and issues and stuff like that, but just, at the end of the day, just helping each other out is the best way to go forward. Because I mean, I don't know if you listen to like Rogan podcast or anything like that. He's all like, rising tides raise all ships kind of deal. He just like, let's just all just there's enough for us to eat out here. Let's just get it done and let's do it. Especially if you have that community, like if you're doing something crazy big or something like cool, like you need a hand with, you always got a buddy down the road you can give a call to that's doing, like, running the same game. Because like, well, I don't know if you talk to Brandon from Slab House down here. I don't know how he's running a full shop. He's got like 5 or 6 guys running in the shop, just like turning and burning and getting after it. And he's moving work like crazy, and I just, mad props to that dude, just getting it done. Talked to him a few times on the phone, and just like, said what's up and everything. And it's like, I'm just happy for him. It's great. And we, like, inspire to be that way. That's why we're trying to set ourselves up to maybe have a couple of employees and stuff like that. And like, picking his brain on how do you do it, we can get like that knowledge base out there a little bit better. It's like, it'll really help, not help the industry, but like, we just want like quality work to go out there, so people will be like, not so like, oh, you do concrete, or to be like, no, you're a concrete artisan. That's pretty badass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of changing up that stigma a little bit.